When asked about her position on the Keystone XL pipeline, Hillary Clinton, well, she pulled a Hillary, and she dodged that question like the Matrix.
Yes, yeah, right there. Yeah.
As president, would you sign a bill, yes or no, please, in favor of allowing the Keystone XL pipeline?
Well, as you know, I was the Secretary of State who started that process. I was the one who put into place the investigation. I have now passed it off as obvious, because I'm no longer there, to Secretary Kerry. This is President Obama's decision, and I am not going to second guess him because I was in a position to set this in motion, and I do not think that would be the right thing to do. So I want to wait and see what he and Secretary Kerry decide. If it's undecided when I become president, I will answer your question.
So I think that the reaction by some of her audience members kind of sums that up. They're like, oh, Hillary, come on, just answer the question. Come on, these are liberal people. They're going to be against Keystone. Just answer. But I mean, I don't know what they expected, because if you expect Hillary to answer questions and be frank with people, well then you're at the wrong rally. Bernie Sanders' rally is next week. Go to that one. So now the guy who asked her the question, he asked for a yes or no answer, as if a politician would give a yes or no answer. And so I just found that hashtag hilarious. That was bad. Mike, don't do that. Don't do that. Let's try to get that going. Tweet me with hilarious scenarios, and I'll retweet them. Now, anyways, think about what she's basically saying when it comes to Keystone. Look, you want to know what my position is on this fundamental issue? Well, guess what? I'm not going to tell you. You want to know? Elect me. Okay, you think that this issue that's really important, that's politically divisive, you think that we're going to wait to get your answer until you're elected? That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. What happens is you tell us the policies that you're going to put in place, and then we vote for you based on that. This is what Hillary Clinton always does. She did the same thing with the TPP, where she wouldn't give a straight answer. And finally, when she actually did, quote, condemn the TPP, it wasn't unequivocal, and she was really vanilla on it. She was saying, oh, I think we could probably just get a better deal. Well, Hillary, we know what your position is on the TPP, because during your tenure as Secretary of State, you were a champion for it. So don't give me that BS. And she's doing the same thing with the Keystone XL pipeline. Of course she's going to be in favor of it. Of course she's going to approve it. She's a centrist and center-right on many, many issues. So now what her actual answer was, she said, quote, if it's still undecided when I become president, then I'll answer your question. So what's the bottom line? Look, if you think that climate change is an issue, well then you should unequivocally condemn the Keystone XL pipeline, because this is really just black and white. Huffington Post explains, through 2050, Keystone XL enabled production of tar sands oil would produce as much as 5.3 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Carbon Tracker's projection is within the range of the State Department's estimate of annual emissions, a maximum of 168 million metric tons, but it totals them over 35 years to demonstrate the pipeline's cumulative and long-term impact. It would be the equivalent of building an additional 46 coal-fired power plants, or roughly the average amount of CO2 that the U.S. emits overall each year. So clearly, it's going to exacerbate climate change. This is 100% evident. Now, what's frustrating is that this is supposed to be the, quote, liberal candidate. We have an entire party, the Republican Party, who just outright denies the existence of anthropogenic climate change, that is, that they don't think it's man-made. And our only hope at this point is the Democratic Party. But I mean, look, even they aren't really championing climate change. None of them, besides Bernie Sanders, has actual specific policies that they're going to implement to combat climate change. The Democratic Party only wants to stop climate change insofar as it doesn't interfere with the business ambitions of their corporate donors. Now, furthermore, the right has framed this as a jobs issue. Now, what's been found out is that only 35 permanent jobs will be created in the end due to the Keystone XL pipeline. But even if it was the case that thousands of permanent jobs would be created through this, well, that still doesn't make it right. Because guess what? Here's one thing that's more important than jobs: the environment. Because if our planet becomes inhabitable, then guess what? Nobody's going to have a job. Where do you expect to work? On Mars? It's not going to happen. We have one habitable planet that we know about, and that's it. So the environment should take precedent over the economy and jobs. So now, if you really want to know someone who's going to be straightforward with you, who's going to be frank, well, Bernie Sanders is that guy. Here's what he says about the Keystone XL pipeline.
Let's talk about something the Republicans do want to get done. That's the Keystone pipeline. The House just approved it. What's the Senate going to do tomorrow?
I hope very much that that we will not provide the 60 votes.
And why? What do you have against the Keystone pipeline?
Well, what the scientific community tells us, virtually unanimously, Allison, is that climate change is real. It is already causing devastating problems. And if we do not transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, this planet is going to face some pretty serious problems. The idea that we would give a green light for the transportation of 800,000 barrels of some of the dirtiest oils in the world makes no sense to me.
I mean, you know, the State Department has done all sorts of environmental impact studies and found that it would have no negative impact.
Yes, I do know that, and they were very faulty studies. What they assumed is that if we killed the pipeline, the oil would come by rail. I don't accept that, and the people who did that study had a prior relationship to TransCanada. Bottom line is, the Republicans talk about this as a jobs program.
Yes.
Do you know how many permanent jobs are going to be created on this?
How many?
35.
Why?
So,
Why do you make it so? Because you're defining it very narrowly. It's not just about in the making of the pipeline. It's what this oil will provide as commerce, how it changes our dependence on foreign oil. I mean, there's a lot going on.
there is. But the Republicans refer to this often as a jobs program. There are 35 permanent jobs. If you want a jobs program, it might be a good idea to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, and our rail system, and start creating millions of jobs, not 35 jobs.
So look, every day it becomes more and more clear Bernie Sanders may not just be the savior of our democracy, but also the savior of our planet potentially as well.